Alright guys, so in my continued venture into covering IEMs, I feel like every now and then I come across a rare gem, and I feel like that is what this pair is that we're going to check out today, which is the Tri i3 MK3 or Mark III. I want to start with the fact that I really like the look of these. I know that has nothing to do with the overall sound, but it has a nice like smooth purple finish to it. It matches really well with the silver cable that they've included. Again, really has nothing to do with the sound, but what actually does have to do with the sound are all of the drivers that they're using in here. And this is what kind of surprised me. They're using a 10mm planar driver, which they're actually using for treble only. They're trying to kind of like mimic an electrostatic driver. They're not using the full range of the planar driver, but they are using a 10mm beryllium driver to handle the low end. They're using a Sunyon 2356 balanced armature driver, and they're also using 3 Knowles acoustic dampers. Now this is to kind of keep these from sounding too harsh. It's trying to keep the sibilance of S's down. It's also trying to keep the bass to have this really smooth approach. So it's not trying to be an in-your-face IEM, which we'll talk about that a little bit more once we get to the sound. Now the price of these do come in at $199, and with all of those drivers that I just mentioned, that already makes these pretty impressive. A lot of the planar magnetic drivers seem to be a little pricey, so it is nice to see they're not going all out on trying to like price gouge these. The body of these is using a CNC precision house carving. Again, it's very smooth, it doesn't have any rough edges, and it's actually a very comfortable pair of IEMs to wear for a long time. Again, it's very smooth, very sleek. The purple stands out. But in the box, you are getting a brown leather case. You're getting a lot of ear tips also included in the box. It does come with 2 sets of foam ear tips. It comes with 3 pairs of silicone ear tips that are focused on the highs. It comes with 3 pairs of silicone ear tips that are a little bit more balanced. And it comes with 3 sets of Clarion ear tips as well. So you do have to kind of play around with the ear tips to find the one that's kind of replicating the sound that you want, because each one of these ear tips has a completely different sound in my opinion. Now the cable they've included is a coaxial silver plated cable. It has that braided look, but again, it kind of matches the IEM that it has this very smooth finish. It doesn't have any rigid edges or anything like that. The connection, it is using a 2-pin connection into the IEMs. And surprisingly, it's using a 4.4mm balanced plug-in to go into devices. Now, I really wish they would have had a 3.5mm plug-in with maybe a 4.4mm adapter instead of just solely using that 4.4mm balance plug-in. This right here kind of limits you to being able to just plug it into on-the-go devices without having like an adapter or a dongle of some sort. So I don't like the choice here, but you know, I was able to use it with my Moondrop Myad 01. This is Moondrop's phone slash DAC or whatever that also has that 4.4mm plug-in. It paired with that actually pretty nicely. Now the impedance level on these comes in at 21 ohms, which if you look at on the box, you would essentially think these are very easy to drive. And honestly, they're not. It can get some decent amount of volume by plugging straight into devices, but I did not feel like I was really getting the most out of the lows, the mids, and the highs. I don't feel like anything was really being pulled out whenever you're plugged straight in. It sounded a little flat, it sounded a little dull, but once I paired it with an amp where I could actually boost these a little bit, that's where they start to come to life. I think, you know, if you're gonna plug it straight into a device and you think that's going to be enough to be able to use these, you're not really gonna get these to their full potential. But I will say though, this isn't your usual like Harman curve. It's not going for that dynamic, like in-your-face approach. I feel like the bass of these are smoothed out where it has its impact, but it doesn't have like that subwoofer type feel, and it doesn't have that overly like aggressive punch to it. Kind of the same thing with the treble. There's so much detail in this pair, but it's kind of, I don't want to say pulled back because that's not what I'm trying to say here. They're, again, dampening it where it's not overly harsh. So it's made to be a pair that isn't going to be ear fatiguing. It's made to be a pair that you're able to listen to for a long period of time. And it's also a pair that I feel like sounds really good across all genres. Now, I will say that certain metal tracks where like the double bass of the drums are going on and a lot of guitars and the bass and the singer, at times it can seem to get a little bit congested here. And this is kind of strange, especially because it's not like an overbearing bass that these have, but I think because they've smoothed everything out, it kind of allows these to get a little bit mushy. And it really only did this with metal. I didn't find this to be the case with any other genre. And in other metal tracks, it still actually kept up extremely fine. And another positive about these is the focus on the mids. I feel like male and female vocalists just stood out extremely well. It also did a very good job with acoustic instruments and strings. Again, it just had a slightly forward approach here without being like overly aggressive, but it kept these from being buried in the mix. And mixing all of that with the fact that these have plenty of space in the sound, and they do a really good job of being able to tell where everything is coming from. So my overall opinion is this. This is an absolutely fantastic pair of IEMs, and it's really nice that they're using planars to be able to handle treble, and also having that beryllium driver to handle the low end, using balanced armature drivers for the mids, and having all of these like pretty well controlled. The downfall, though, in my opinion, is that 4.4 millimeter balance plug-in and the fact that it really does require an amp to be able to enjoy these. So are they the most portable pair? No. Because of that plug-in and because of it needing an amp, I think that kind of holds it back to being more of a, IEM that I would use at home, like sitting in front of my desktop or plugged into like a home theater system. But obviously, if you want to take out an amp or, want to have an adapter to be able to plug into devices, you could use it on the go. I'm not saying that it can't be used that way, but I think like its full potential is sitting down and using these at home just plugged into an amp. But like I said at the beginning of the video, I consider these to be a gem because of their sound signature, because of all of the drivers and different things that they're using in them, and the fact that they were able to keep these right at $200. But guys, that's my video on the Tri i3 MK3 or Mark IIIs. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Thank you so much for checking out all the other videos. And as always, make sure to stay tuned for more.